Okay, so you know how everyone always asks about money, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you actually get rich? How do you build wealth in this crazy world?
Yeah, it's a huge question for
It
sure.
feels like it's one of those things people are constantly thinking about, maybe even worrying about.
For sure, yeah. And it kind of gets to like some deep down desires, I think, like we all want some level of financial security
Right.
and getting rich. It almost feels like society has told us it's the ultimate goal, right?
Exactly. And there's just so much noise out there.
Oh, yeah.
It's tough to figure out what's real, what actually works. So to try and cut through all that, all that noise, we've got a really direct perspective for you today.
Okay.
We're going to be diving into the experiences of a guy who's actually done it. He's a successful trader, made a good chunk of money, and he's sharing some pretty unvarnished views on what it really takes to get rich, like right now in this day and age.
I like it. No sugarcoating.
Yes.
Lay it on us.
So no get-rich-quick schemes here. What we really want to do is unpack, like the often hidden realities of how wealth is actually created, based on his firsthand account.
That's good.
We'll look at the systems at play, the real obstacles, and some of the surprising truths he lays out.
Awesome. I'm excited for this one.
So this trader, he starts by telling us how often he gets asked that million-dollar question, how do you get rich?
Yeah.
And it's not just like in, formal settings. He's saying it comes up at parties, like just randomly.
Wow.
It really just highlights how like universal this thing is, this thought.
Yeah, everyone's thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, wanting to know the secret to like six-pack abs or being fluent in another language overnight.
Yeah.
We all kind of feel like there must be a path. Like if we just knew the steps to follow, boom, we're there.
Right.
Yeah.
But this guy, he throws kind of a curveball right off the bat.
Okay.
His initial, and it's a very blunt response,
Yeah.
is, and I'm quoting him here, ask another question. And then he just drops this bomb. Have a rich dad.
Wow. Okay, so he's not beating around the bush.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Straight to the point.
It immediately just like challenges the traditional narrative that we've all heard.
The whole like pull yourself up by your bootstraps kind of thing.
Oh yeah, like it's all about hard work, it's all about merit, and if you just, work hard enough, you'll get there.
Yeah.
But he's suggesting that like where you start can be a way bigger factor.
Right. It's about the head start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And he's not just saying this, out of thin air. He's speaking from experience.
Right.
He was a successful professional trader, from 2008 to 2014.
Okay.
And apparently he did particularly well in 2011. Like that was his path.
Interesting. So right in the thick of things after the 2008 crash.
Yeah, lots of volatility.
High risk, high reward kind of environment.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it wasn't just dumb luck, right? He's very clear that you need serious smarts, serious education.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking a master's degree in economics from like very specific universities, top tier.
The best of the best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But even that, right? Even that wasn't a guarantee.
What else did he need?
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
It wasn't just about, acing your classes.
You're right.
Apparently, winning a national card game was a prerequisite for landing his trading job.
Hold on, a card game? Like what?
I know, right?
That's wild.
I mean, talk about a barrier to entry.
Seriously, who even thinks of that?
Yeah, it just emphasizes how intense the competition is, and some of these hurdles are just
Arbitrary, it sounds like.
yeah, almost.
Yeah.
So it's not enough to be smart and work hard. You need this weird extra layer.
Yeah, like some almost random talent that most people wouldn't even think of.
Right.
Okay, so that begs the question. Like if you don't come from a wealthy family, how do you even, how do you get a seat at the table?
And that's what he's saying. Like, this path is basically closed off to most people who don't have a wealthy background.
So it's not a level playing field at all.
Not at all.
It's like the deck is stacked against you from the start.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's not just, speculating here. He says trading floors today,
Yeah.
almost no one is from an ordinary background.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty exclusive.
So that whole idea of like, working your way up from nothing, it's just not realistic anymore.
It really makes you question that whole narrative about social mobility.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that like direct professional route, forget about it unless you're born into it.
Okay, so what about trading on your own? A lot of people talk about that, like personal trading, day trading, all that.
Yeah, and our trader actually, he still trades on his own account.
Okay.
And he says he's got a pretty good track record.
So maybe that's the answer.
It might seem that way, right?
Yeah.
But But then he tells this story about trying to help his friends get into trading at the start of COVID.
Oh,
And it's a bit of a cautionary tale.
I bet. I mean, everyone was talking about trading back then, especially with all the market craziness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he was, he was buying a lot of gold at the time as a hedge.
Okay.
He thought house prices were going to go up.
Yeah,
And
that.
yeah, and he told his friends to do the same. His friends, they were saving up for a down payment.
Right. Tough time to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
House prices going crazy.
Yeah, so anyway, he's like, hey, buy gold. But they hesitated at first.
Probably thought the price was too low or something.
Yeah, that's a natural reaction,
Yeah.
right? If something's low, you think it might go lower.
You don't want to catch a falling knife, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then gold starts going up.
Oh.
And suddenly they've got serious FOMO.
Fear of missing out.
Yeah.
The classic.
The classic, so they jump in. But of course, by then, it's already gone up quite a bit.
So they missed out on a lot of the gains.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But here's the kicker. They didn't just stop at gold.
Okay.
They got a little taste of success, and
They got greedy.
they got, a little greedy without even telling them. They diversified at all this other stuff. Silver, platinum, palladium,
Oh my God.
Bitcoin, even Tesla.
Sounds like they were just chasing whatever was hot at the moment.
Yeah, no real strategy, no real understanding of what they were doing.
It's just like throwing darts at a board.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So anyway, you can probably guess what happens next.
Yeah, they lost their shirts probably.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Market shifts and they lose big, wiped out all their gains and then some.
It's a tough lesson.
Yeah, and this is what our trader realized. He's like, look, trying to teach trading to other people, it's almost impossible and it's incredibly risky.
Right, because it's not just about, knowing what to buy and sell. There's a whole psychology to it. There's timing, risk management.
Yeah, and he makes this analogy. It's like asking Michael Phelps, how to just instantly become an Olympic champion.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Like you can't just download that expertise.
Yeah, it's years of training, dedication,
Yeah.
a certain mindset.
Right.
Yeah, that's not something you can just teach overnight.
Exactly. So, okay. The high-level professional route,
Yeah.
super exclusive.
Yeah.
The DIY approach.
Super risky.
Yeah. So this kind of brings us to the bigger issues, the system itself.
Okay.
And our trader, he doesn't hold back here. He's got some pretty strong opinions about things like crypto, day trading, FX trading, especially for the average person.
Yeah.
He straight up says
Yeah.
these things are basically gambling for most people.
Especially if you don't know what you're doing.
Right. And he points to this stat from his own trading platform.
Okay.
75% of accounts
Whoa.
lose money.
That's a huge majority.
Huge. So he's like, look, the odds are stacked against you.
You're basically playing against the house,
Yeah.
not in your favor.
And then he uses this analogy. It's like that saying about the poker table.
If you can't spot the sucker in the first half hour at the table, then you are the sucker.
Yeah. Classic. So he's basically saying if you're an ordinary person,
Yeah.
you're trading against these pros.
Yeah, who do this for a living?
Yeah, who have all the information, all the resources.
Algorithms, high-frequency trading,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
You're not going to win.
The little guy doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
Okay.
But his critique goes even deeper than that.
Okay.
He's saying that we as a society, we've kind of convinced young people that
Yeah.
making a ton of money, being wealthy, that's the most important thing.
Like that's the measure of your worth as a human being.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he's very concerned about this.
I mean, it's a lot of pressure.
It is. It is. And he's saying that the legitimate ways to build wealth, like through hard work alone,
The traditional path.
they've been blocked for a lot of young people.
Yeah. It's not as simple as it used to be.
Not at all. And this is where he brings up this idea of invisible wealth transfer.
Okay. What's that?
So this is about things like
Okay.
parents giving their kids, large sums of money.
A little help from mom and dad.
Yeah, especially for things like buying a house, like that first house.
That down payment.
Yeah, and he's saying this is often completely unseen, like people don't talk about it.
Right. It's all happening behind closed doors.
Yeah, and it's obviously completely unattainable for people who don't come from privileged backgrounds.
Yeah, it's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
It's like a secret head start that no one talks about.
Yeah, and this is where he gets into the mental health consequences.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Young people, they feel like they're failing. They
Yeah.
see all this pressure to be wealthy, to be successful.
And they're not getting there.
And they're not getting there, and they're blaming themselves.
Right.
But the system is making it so hard.
Yeah, it's like a rigged game.
Yeah. And his message here is really important. Like, stop blaming yourself. you know?
Except that it's not a level playing field.
Yeah, recognize that it's not just about you.
Yeah.
There are these systemic inequalities that are working against you.
They're making it harder.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he makes this distinction between micro and macro mobility.
Okay. Interesting. I haven't heard that before.
So micro mobility, that's basically
Yeah.
like, can you do a little better than the people you grew up with?
Okay, so like within your immediate socioeconomic circle.
Yeah. So maybe you work hard, you get some lucky breaks, you move up a little bit.
You climb a rung or two on the ladder.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
But macro mobility,
Yeah.
that's like,
That's the big jump.
that's the big jump. That's reaching the level of people who were born wealthy.
The kind of mobility that changes your whole life,
Yeah.
changes your kids' lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's saying that that is becoming almost impossible.
Wow. So like the American dream, that's basically dead.
Yeah, pretty much. And he points out that like people from poorer backgrounds,
Yeah.
they still have to work incredibly hard.
Right, to just survive.
Yeah, to just not end up, in terrible situations.
Yeah.
And it creates this crazy competition at the bottom.
Yeah, everyone's scrambling for scraps.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a rat race.
Exactly. So, okay, the game is rigged, right?
Yeah.
So what do we do?
Yeah, what's the answer? What's his call to action?
And it's not about just giving up.
Okay.
He's actually really clear that the current system,
Yeah.
whether it's intentional or not,
Okay.
it's basically robbing the poor.
Wow.
Well, everyone's distracted with trying to get rich themselves.
So we're too busy focusing on our own individual situations to see the bigger picture.
Yeah, exactly. And this focus on individual financial success, he's saying it's actually part of the problem
Interesting. How so?
because it keeps us from coming together
Yeah.
and demanding change.
Right. So it's like a form of depoliticization.
Yeah, yeah. And he's really big on this idea of dignity.
Okay.
Like, no matter what happens financially,
Yeah.
your worth as a human being
Yeah.
is intact.
You're not a failure just because you're not rich.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's saying that, like, poverty in this context,
Yeah.
it's not your fault.
Right.
It's the system.
The system's broken.
The system's broken, yeah.
Okay.
And his solutions, they're pretty direct.
Lay him on me.
Be born rich
Uh-huh.
or change the rules of the game.
Okay.
And obviously for most of us,
Option A is not really on the table.
option A is not really an option.
Yeah.
So he's all about collective action.
People power.
Yeah, he specifically mentions
Uh-huh.
taxing the rich more, taxing lower income folks less.
Yeah. That makes sense. Redistribute the wealth a little bit.
Yeah, and he's talking about like a fundamental reshaping of the economy.
So that hard work actually pays off again.
Yeah, so that ordinary people have a chance to build real wealth.
Yeah. A real shot at a good life. Yeah.
So his vision is not about, stock tips or
Yeah.
trying to get lucky in the market.
Right.
It's about people coming together to fix a system.
To make it fair for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So big takeaway from this deep dive, the whole idea of getting rich.
Yeah.
It's way more complicated than we often think.
Way more nuanced.
Way more nuanced.
Yeah.
And individual effort, while it's important,
Yeah.
it can only take you so far if the system is working against you.
You're swimming upstream.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's really important to understand these bigger forces
Right.
that are shaping our lives, our financial realities.
Because if we don't understand them, we can't change them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So this leaves us with a final question for you.
Okay.
Knowing what we know now
Yeah.
about this uneven playing field,
Yeah.
what role can you see yourself playing?
In changing it.
Yeah, in advocating for a fairer system.
Yeah. That's a good question. I think it starts with awareness, just understanding how the system works and how it affects us all.
Exactly. And then what? Like, what can you actually do
Right.
in your own life, in your community, to actually push for change?
It's a big question.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It's definitely something to think about.
Food for thought.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing this up. It's a great discussion.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time.
See ya.